You're listening to the Banríon Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to the Banríon Show on Irish News Radio or ITV.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net. You're listening to the Banríon Show. Today is Friday on ITV and Irish News Radio. Today we are talking about immigration. The other thing that is quite shocking that happened, we're hearing Theresa May is willing to put the border in the Irish Sea. Now, I think that's quite shocking. It was 30 years of violence of Northern Ireland, where they killed each other, blew each other up. For her to just turn around and say, okay, here, we're going to give it. She's giving everything the EU want. No, not only the Northern Irish, I'd imagine, were very unhappy, but the British. This is not the Brexit that they voted for or want. Border down the Irish Sea, I cannot see that working out very well. I actually think that is going to cause huge mayhem of violence, because this is not what the British want, or not what the Northern Irish want, and not even what the Catholic Northern Irish want, and not even what a lot of the Southern Irish, including myself, agree on. I think that is wrong. It would be different if it was 32 and we were doing something independently, but to take back the 6 and give it to the EU and hand over everything after 30 years of violence on this island. 700 years we fought for independence, and we've just handed it back into the EU. The United Kingdom have fought many wars. It seems very strange that they would just give in to the EU like this. I think it's time she leaves, if this is her opinion, to just hand over the 6 like that. Quite a strange thought.
Hello?
Hello, you're listening to the Banríon Show on Irish News Radio. Today we are talking to Andrew, who will explain himself. He was part of the Brexit movement and is very much anti-immigration into the UK, and you're part of the British First movement, is that right?
Yes, I'm British First, yeah. I'm sat with Paul Golding now, actually.
Oh, brilliant. I normally talk to Paul Golding, so I maybe can talk to him as well at the same time. The quick question that I have for you, I don't know whether you were aware of what Theresa May said that she would be willing to do a border on the Irish Sea. So that's really what I wanted to catch up and get a feeling of what your thoughts were on that.
Right, well, I'm a unionist myself, and that'd be something I'd be dead against. Ulster is part of, Northern Ireland is part of Great Britain, and I believe it will always stay that way. And if you did do this, there will be a massive uproar throughout the country.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm from the opposite kind of view. I'm kind of more of a Republican view, but not the new Republican. But I would believe in 32, but not under the EU. I would prefer to be part of the British any day than be part of the EU. That's my opinion. But as I said, I come from a Republican views and Republican background. But I definitely, whatever about like 30 years of absolutely terror in this country and on your country as well, for the British May to say, oh, you can hand it to the EU, whatever about Britain having it or Ireland, but to actually give it to the EU, it's shocking what's happening. Absolutely shocking.
I can't honestly say that, but that would ever go through. I can't see the votes in Parliament getting the votes for it to remain like that. It won't remain like that. Everyone will kick up such a fuss. You just won't get through Parliament.
Yeah, well, hopefully they do, because I think it's quite shocking. I just heard it on the news that she seems to be just giving in to everything for the EU, which is quite, like, she doesn't seem to be like, I mean, long days where Margaret Thatcher would have never worked.
She calls Theresa May the puppet of the EU. She goes there, she gives into everything, just like all our prime ministers done over the years.
Absolutely. But so what do you think the next step is? Do you think that you'll be made step down for these remarks, or do you think I mean, it seems to be like, from what I've heard on the news, that it was the Irish news, and they're extremely biased and they're extremely leftist anyway. So, I mean, it was very much a point of view that they would love this to happen, purely just to annoy the British, rather than even to have Northern Ireland back. It's just to annoy the British for leaving the Brexit zone, like to punish them for leaving. It's quite a strange view. But tell me your thoughts on it and what's been happening in Northern Ireland and what you've been doing in Brexit.
I can't say I like the DUP. I think they're just like Theresa May. They just give in and everything else. Even though Arlene Foster said a few good things like against it, like I say, I don't support the DUP in any way at all. They're giving in like everything else. They've sold the souls really for £1 billion. So yeah, look at it.
Insane, isn't it? It's actually. I mean, I feel the same about Sinn Féin. Like, I mean, Sinn Féin would have been kind of, you know, all my part, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, completely the same. But the Sinn Féin seems to be the most Soros group. He seems to just back them and pay for them. I mean, they're no longer for independence. They're no longer for sovereignty. They're the biggest unionist party, but they're for the EU, which is quite shocking considering their history.
It's like every party in the UK is saying they've all sold out to. Even the Labour Party used to be like the working class party, but it's no longer. It's all for immigration. You know, they're just sold out to the EU, like you say. It's disgusting.
Absolutely. They seem to all be, I think Soros and Embassy International and different parties like that seem to be getting involved in it. Ireland seems to be completely, we're left without a government for the Irish people. Like, we literally don't have one person speaking up for the Irish. They're all anti-Irish and anti-white. It's a completely mass immigration, and anybody shut up about it because you're all racist and bigots.
We've actually just landed into Scotland. We've just got over there on the ferry, and we've just been stopped for 2 hours. There's myself and Paul and 3 activists in the car, and we've just been strip searched. We've been had the car ripped to pieces, all our luggage searched. 2 hours they've just kept us for. They've took a copy of a leaflet because we're on our way to England to do a day of action, and they've just ripped us to pieces. We got in at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and we've just literally left there now. They've had us for 2 hours and questioning, and it's been terrible. It's saying that anybody who stands up against the mass immigration, this is what happens to him. I mean, Paul's forever getting arrested, as you know. He's every day, at least once or twice a week they've got him in there, and you know, they're just trying to wear us down, but it doesn't work. You know, we're still going to carry on with our mission.
I mean, they're not going to stop at anything. I don't know where this is going to end. I mean, our government, the Irish government, is overrunning us, so we are going to be outnumbered in a very short period.
Yes, I've been looking at this statistics of that. Actually, you're quite a small country, like with population-wise, and the amount of immigrants, what you've got going in there, it's only a matter of years before you're immigrants in your own country.
Oh, completely. And I can see it in
London, Birmingham. I mean, the same thing's happening in like my town, Manchester. I mean, I think we've got something like 8 months left, and then we're the minority in our own city. It's unbelievable. It's shocking. New world order.
It's insane. I like, it just gets more frightening every day, and it's just all covered up. I mean, there was these 100 migrants and Africans attacked these 12 to 13-year-old young boys in Dublin. And it doesn't go into the article until later on and explains that they were Africans. They attacked 100 of them, attacked the 12-year-old and the 13-year-old and robbed them. So this woman stepped in, who's heavily pregnant, 7 months pregnant, stepped in, some bit crazy, but she steps in to try and, you know, she's thinking that maybe of an adult. And then they tell her that they'll cut the baby out of her and chop it up. Like, absolutely.
It's happening on a daily basis throughout the UK. I'm sure, like you say, the same in Ireland. It's terrible. I mean, we had 1,400 girls raped in one South Yorkshire town. 1,400 young 11, 12, 13-year-old girls were groomed and raped by Pakistani Muslim men in one town, and that town's Rotherham, South Yorkshire. It's absolutely disgraceful what's going on. getting covered up. I mean, we've had the same thing happen in Telford, Rochdale, Oxford. Throughout every town and city throughout the UK is a major problem. And it is just all covered up by the authorities in the name of diversity.
Disgusting, shocking. I think the English and the Irish really need to stick together at this and actually start going against our governments. I think this is the time that, for the one time in history, that we actually need to stand for both our indigenous race and just stand and fight this complete, absolute
over to Northern Ireland. The amount of Irish people who've got in touch, who come on demos and things like that, and what they're asking out, how can we get involved? And I think each time we all stood together, whether we're Catholics, Protestants, Christians, whatever we are.
Yeah, I mean, we're all Christians or even non-religious. It doesn't matter. But to stand for our race, our culture, identity, and that there's safety, that we should be allowed to live in our land. I was reading one town in the UK, and it's like complete white flight where there's just no white person left in it. They've all left.
There's plenty of places in England like that now. It's unbelievable. You go to an old town, there's a place in Yorkshire called Savilletown. There's one white elderly lady who's lived there her whole life. She's about 90 years old at the minute, and she's getting terrorised to move out of her house. And she's, they're going around there with bags of money, cash as well, saying, "Now we'll give you this to move out." And she just refuses, and she's been there for like about 60 odd years. She's lived there, and she's, like I say, it's quite a big town. This, and she's the only white lady left. The rest of them are Muslims.
Absolutely. I don't know. It's absolutely shocking. It just seems to be steam ahead, and all values broken down. Like the Irish government is steam set and breaking all Christian or all anything to do with our past as a Christian country destroyed. Yeah. I mean, they're bringing in the most barbaric abortion.
Exactly. I won't mind it. I mean, there's plenty of Christian people that live abroad who are getting terrorised by the Muslims. We could bring them over there, but they don't. They actually go out their way to bring the. We sort of get the worst. I mean, there's a place in Northern Ireland, Ballymena, was totally getting overrun at the moment by Roma gypsies. Nobody wants these people. Even in Europe, they're not welcome because they actually get, when they're young, they actually get their little fingers chopped off them, so they're made to do pickpocketing, and there's a scourge of society. They don't live right. They don't even put the bins out or anything like that. They just live absolutely disgusting. And all these people are arriving by the coachload on a daily basis into Ballymena, and they're getting houses straight away. They've got cars. They're just, nobody likes them, and it's just causing problems in the community.
It's insane. We have 10,000 homeless in Ireland, 4,000 are children. They're taking Irish away from their homes, like in places like Wexford, and they're putting migrants, like Muslims and North Africans, which are generally Muslims as well, into their homes. Like this, and giving them free homes, giving them free everything. The Irish are being put on the street. This is genocide.
Exactly what's happening in England.
I mean, whatever, when the Irish go on and on about the British and what the British did, and I came from that sort of background where we learned a lot about that. But at least they knew who the enemy was and why the enemy was there. They're not being told now who the enemy is. They've been told if they even speak up, but they feel bad about this, and they're racist bigots, and they're being told to shut up about it. It's absolutely, and they're afraid of words. They're afraid of words. That they've been brainwashed into thinking that there's some way connected to Palestine. It's ridiculous, sort of stupidity.
I mean, myself, I've been jailed twice myself, just for standing up and attending a demo, or all the same. He's been in jail a couple of times now. Anybody who stands up or says anything against the establishment and the stupid, you just go into jail. That's how they work it. And they think they can just break us all by just, we just got to keep fighting and just, I mean, I've got 11 children myself. I've got 7 grandchildren. I do for my grandkids. I do. I mean, I don't want to be leaving them a world where, like Britain, But it's happening throughout Europe as well, as you know. I mean, Germany now, France. It's a joke what's happened. It's unbelievable. Socialist, liberal idiots have brought this upon us.
They just have seemed to just come in and all over, like, I don't know, Ireland has been happening since we said no to Lisbon. Then we were full throttled, broken, and they have been working hard on what they like to call diversity, which is destroying our culture and everything to do with Christianity and our beliefs. And I don't even believe our votes are actually real. I actually think, and there has been footage from the Lisbon where they swapped the boxes, and I think since then we don't even have a real vote. We don't actually know what's going on. They decide what we're going to be voting in and what we're not, and the people don't actually have a say.
If you're doing signing these secret treaties, like in Marrakesh as well, they signed, it's all to do with the destruction of the white race, the way I look at it. I mean, they want everyone to be, it's diverse. I don't mind a bit of it, but he's gone to the point now where it's totally took over.
Once you become a minority in your own homeland and you're not, like, as I've explained it to other people, it's like, when Ireland is destroyed, where will the Irish go? Where can they go? All those people go back to their countries after they've destroyed Ireland. They all have countries to go home to. The Irish have no homes to go to. This is their only home. Once you've destroyed Ireland, and they are destroying it very quickly, there is nowhere for the Irish to go.
Oh, no. It's terrible. It's not nice to watch, is it?
No.
It's like you just stand back, watch it, and if you say anything against it, like I say, you're getting jailed or you're getting castrated, and it's disgusting over there. I think my signal is about to go, because I'm going up into, I'm in Scotland and I'm going up into the hills.
Okay.
So if I do go, I am put the phone on, it's a signal.
Okay, well, it was just a quick call. Thank you very much for taking the call and just trying to catch up. And I will give you a shout again once we find out more about what Theresa May is going ahead. So that was the main reason. It is Irish Sea, which I think everybody, not just...
like at the beginning, I can't see that getting through the Parliament. I really can't. I mean, Theresa May only a couple of months ago was in Belfast saying that... the Conservatives is actually, the full name of the Conservatives is the Conservatives and Union, which is obviously, so I can't see it getting through Parliament. And how she believes it, well, I don't understand, but I can't see it.
Yeah, hopefully not, because I actually do think that will bring war again. And maybe it's time to bring war, because I actually think that we're all at wit's end with the government and the disaster policy in destroying our country. Maybe it is time for that. Anyway, thank you very much for taking the call.
Anybody else, anybody's listening, just keep up the fight and no surrender. Okay, thanks for coming on. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you very much for taking the call. Thank you, bye-bye.
You're listening to the Banríon Show. Today is Friday. The other thing that is strange, Simon Harris, the disgusting minister, you couldn't even call him the minister for death, he's decided he will not give the unborn pain relief. Now, even kittens and dogs, if they need to be neutered through when they are carrying cubs, they're given a pain relief through that. So when they die, they don't feel anything. There is a certain term in the pregnancy that the baby will feel more pain as the nervous system is just developed. So they would even feel more pain than we would because they're nervous. So they will die in excruciating pain. This is like torture, worse than torture. For what? I mean, first we were allowed to murder them because people see them as that they don't have a right to life. And now that they have to die in horrific pain with no painkiller. This is disgusting. Absolutely inhumane. And he finds the conversation inhumane. The act is inhumane. Absolutely stomach turning horrific. These babies will die. Nobody has been tortured like the amount of pain. It's an injection. They'll be injected this substance into the heart. Once, possibly twice, to see if they feel that will be enough, but twice, as the baby will be bigger, or different circumstances that they will have to inject it twice, the baby twice. So this is absolutely disgusting, horrific. Now, people have been born with this, but the Irish government are trying to make sure that nobody will be born alive. So that's why the 2 injections will go into the baby's heart. Absolutely disgusting, horrific pain. Hitler didn't come out with this plan. This is the most disgusting, barbaric act of torture to the unborn. Anyway, we'll be catching up with those stories. Thank you for listening on the Banríon Show at 8 in the evening on ITV and Irish News for the real stories that's happening. Thank
you. You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.